You mentioned in a tweet some time back that your mom had few real estate investments, and in one of those properties, the tenant refused to pay after first month, and then it took you 2 to 3 years to evict that tenant, and it's been a crazy ride, right? Investing in real estate, and you have stopped investing in real estate altogether.
Yes, I'll buy a house for my own living, but that's like buying a car. It has nothing to do with investment. But you ask me to invest in real estate, I won't do it. So, मेरे को नहीं करना है. I won't buy a house to rent it out and all that stuff. That stuff is just, I mean, we went through this whole thing where
Can you tell us more about it?
the person who rented it was not, I mean, he was a relatively old person.
Yeah.
And relatively old means he was maybe about 55 or 56.
Yeah.
And after the first month, he refused to pay rent. I called him up. I said, "You're not paying any rent." He said, "Don't talk to me. Talk to my lawyer." So then we said, then I had to call a lawyer and we went. So it took us a long time because everybody who's in this gets, there's a sequence of events that happens. You have to file a case. It has to be accepted first of all. Once it is accepted, there are lots of things about acceptance also. Okay, is this agreement even valid? Was there ever a rental agreement? Now, luckily for us, there was one rent that was paid. If that person has not even paid a single rent, it would be difficult for us to establish that there was a rental agreement between the two. So there was a rent that was paid. And then a bunch of things. Then you go through a hearing and then you go through cross questioning and a bunch of things. Each of these things requires physical visits. If one party doesn't show up, there's an adjournment.
That guy showed up for any of
So
these?
they showed up for the first hearing and maybe one more hearing in the middle, but never after that. Their lawyer used to come and say, my party is not here, we're filing for adjournments. So you can get up to 3 adjournments each time. So every time the adjournment happens, then the next sequence of things happens, which also gets 3 adjournments. So by the end of it, it's like, it was 2 years. And luckily for my mother, and we are lucky because it was 2 years, but luckily for my mother, she would go and visit on every single hearing. Typically, people don't go.
What a torment.
Yeah, it was a pain, but she was very, she was
Adamant
like,
about
and she was like, I'm not going to give this up just because. So when she finally, the time came for the order, the judge actually said, listen, this is my last order because I am retiring. Or not retiring, I am being transferred. He said, but I will give this order before I leave. I think you have been oppressed and therefore my order will come. She gave the order, but after the order, then another judge has to sign a different something. So we were afraid that judge will say, nahi, ye order to theek hai, I want to hear the whole case again. Luckily, that also didn't happen. We got a whatever that was thing, and then we went and by the time we had reached the house, this person had scooted the day before. He obviously, this was a known offense. There were 3 other people he had done it to, and each of those cases, similar things had happened. Then we tracked him down. We spent a year trying to figure out where he is because he owed us rent. The deposit was not enough to cover, obviously. So we had a court order. We had this thing. What do you call that thing? And you don't get to get arrested for something like this. It's apparently something else where you can call the person to the police station, but you have to take the cops there. And the police are like, we've seen all this before. You'll never catch the guy.
Yeah.
Kuch bhi kar lo. Then when we found that he's living here, they were also surprised. They said, really? He's not fled this thing? So we went there. We saw the cops give a written letter and notice. And then, so it was messy. It's just that you're dealing with stuff you don't want to deal with. स्टॉक में क्या होगा, डिविडेंड नहीं आएगा, लेटर ईमेल भेज दोगे डिविडेंड आ जाएगा, वही है एट बेस्ट. मे बी दे सेंड फोटो ऑफ पैन कार्ड, ओके ठीक है. But here you're dealing with like going to a court, sitting in a bench, which is, the criminal cases happening next to you, this, that, all that. It's not not very pleasant. And I mean, it's like, in a way, sometimes if that is your business, that's what you have to do. Yeah. Business has good and not so good elements with it, right? But real estate is not our business. किसी को करना है करो, बेशक कुछ भी करो, you can do anything and make money in the country, but it's not for us. I will not go into real estate for making money. I'll go into real estate for living. घर खरीदो यार, अच्छा है, find nice walls, good. It's your own house, you can do what you want. If you're in a rented house, it's more difficult to do things with as much feeling of impunity. ये दीवार मतलब तोड़नी है, अब रेंटेड घर में नहीं तोड़ सकते हो, अपने घर में तोड़ सकते हो, मोस्टली तोड़ सकते हो, बट कभी कभी ऐसा भी होता है कि नहीं तोड़ सकते हो, बट ठीक है. बट फॉर द मोस्ट पार्ट यू गेट लिटिल मोर फ्रीडम, एंड दैट फ्रीडम इज वर्थ पेइंग फॉर. इट्स लाइक हैविंग योर ओन कार वर्सेस एन ऊबर. रात को मुझे 12 बजे आइसक्रीम खाने जाना है और नहीं है ऊबर, फिर और I just want to go on a drive. Just I love driving, so I will always buy and own a car. The same way I'll always have one house to live in. But having multiple houses, people do it, they have fun, but not me.